Like, I do think it causes a decrease in wages. I do think the benefits to immigration are overblown. But my biggest gripe is like a cultural thing. That's my biggest gripe. I don't.
The anti-white bias. Okay, that do Mexicans
Yes,
have an
that is a
anti-white
huge
bias?
problem.
Actually, do any races not have an anti-white bias?
Yeah, white people.
I think what's more relevant for policy is probably the overall effect on wages, and it doesn't seem like that is that big. And
Well,
I don't think
immigrants aren't going to lower the wages of people they're not competing with, right? But if you expand the
Right.
amount of immigration into the country, they're going to be competing with more and more people.
all else equal, I might not think that lower construction wages are like good, but if lower construction wages means that companies build more plants, which means that more workers are employed overall, like that's a good thing. That could, increase wages in other sectors too, right? Like I think that's an overall benefit.
I disagree with this point.
If you want to help me continue to produce content, liking and subscribing is greatly appreciated. Also, make sure to check out my Discord server, linked down below, where you can also find my Twitch, my Kick, and my Twitter. Okay, so I've seen your clip. I don't. How much do you know about me? Do you know anything?
I know you're one of those like globe cucks on Twitter. Probably something like a neolib. You're friends with someone I'm friends with. They told me I should talk to you. I was like, yeah, I'll talk to him first.
Oh, who?
We'll
Sam
see.
or Sample?
It was sample text.
Yeah, I'm buddies with Sample, obviously. Yeah, I'm a globe cuck. So like, I'm I'm 19. I don't have an econ degree, but I like learning about econ.
Right.
And I don't want to speak over confidently about things I don't know for sure about. I think it's possible some econometrics I don't. But I have issues with almost every claim you made in the Jubilee thing.
All right, sure. What's the contention?
Okay, the first thing you said, I wrote them down. One, you said you were questioning Mehdi Hasan about whether immigration was good for the economy, and he said, "Oh, you think lower wages are good for the economy." I think that one, obviously, there's a question of how much immigrants lower wages, and then two, there's a question of if they are a net negative, even if they do lower wages to some extent.
Okay. Would you agree that there's winners and losers to immigration? Would you agree to that?
Yes, but that's less clear to me long term, but I think it's an overall benefit.
In what way?
It seems like the evidence we have shows that like the long term wages, even with even in like the same occupation that or even with people immigrants are directly competing against, like it doesn't seem like the effects are that pronounced. But
It matters what data you're looking at. I mean, so usually what the claim is immigration has a negligible impact on wages, and in the long term, it might even turn positive. Because I think usually the argument is like immigrants are going to force up people, right? Like if you're like a native working, and the firm you're working at like hires an immigrant, what they'll do is they won't displace you or lower their wages. They might even promote you to a managerial position. That's like the argument Perry makes. I'm not convinced of that. But you can look at like I think it's Price, 2020, and then of course there's the occupational study I sent or that I
right.
referenced in the debate. There's a couple others too that don't look at like occupational wide approach, but they'll look at like a very specific sector. Um, I forget I forget who the author was, but they looked at construction and they found a pretty significant negative impact from immigration on construction wages.
So
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
so I think for one, I think Mehdi's claim is about wages overall, and I think it's obviously I would I think most pro-immigration people are going to say it's likely that the immigrants or the native workers who are directly competing against immigrants might experience some negative effects on wages, right? But like if we should probably care. I think what's more relevant for policy is probably the overall effect on wages, and it doesn't seem like that is that big. And I
Well,
don't think
immigrants aren't going to lower the wages of people they're not competing with, right? But if you expand the amount
right.
of immigration into the country, they're going to be competing with more and more people. And then there's also one thing you got to realize here is what's the counterfactual if we don't have immigrants? Now, this is something I didn't get to mention. I mentioned very briefly, but it's actually a much larger point, which is that immigrants essentially cause white flight. And what I mean by that is when immigrants come into an area, and usually they migrate to very wealthy areas, it calls people to leave those areas, but it also
Mhm.
causes less people to move into those areas. And the problem is immigrants go to very wealthy areas. They go to big metropolitan cities that have a lot of wealth in them. So, and so the point here that I'm making is immigration disrupts internal migration a lot. And so if it is the case that they're going to these very wealthy cities, and this is causing not only people to leave these wealthy cities, but it's also causing people who probably would have moved to those cities if there was no immigrants, then you're looking at a counterfactual situation that maybe can't even be measured. That is probably going to significantly lower wages, lower people's living standards if they weren't here to begin with.
Well, I think it's not clear that it's not clear to me that would represent sort of an overall decrease in living standards. So I agree to some extent, and this is I think part of your issue with like the spatial analysis that the Mehdi guy was citing, right? Is that it doesn't necessarily account for the type of internal migration that happens.
Yeah, because
But like
right.
yeah, right. But I
Well,
think
immigrants only go into very specific low skilled sectors. That's why I mentioned aggregation. That it probably wasn't clear what I meant by that. They aggregate in very specific sectors, usually agriculture, construction. There a lot of them are maids, and they don't touch a lot of other sectors. Now the problem is when you're doing something that like maybe Perry does, where you just look. The most famous situation was the Cuban immigrants in Florida.
right.
I'm sure you're familiar with Borjas and that debate that
Yeah.
caused that. And what they did was they just looked at the Mariel Boatlift, and they looked at these Cubans went in here to this area, and then they looked at the area, and they might have done a different indifference with compared to areas that immigrants didn't go to compared to that area that they did go to, or they might have looked at the area before and then after immigration. But they're just looking at that area and seeing how wages reflected. And the only problem is that when immigrants go into a given area, competition, they only go into very specific sectors. And so if you want to actually see the real impact that immigrants have on wages, you want to look at the people they're actually competing with. You don't want to look at the people they're not competing with. Obviously, there's going to be a very negligible effect on that. But if you want to increase the amount of immigrants coming, then you're going to see more and more immigrants competing with more and more people. That's the contention I'm having here.
Sure. So I think again, what's probably relevant actually, number one, it might take me, I think it would take me a lot more research to determine who was right about the effects of wages on, in the case of the Cuban, the Cuban, what's it called?
The only thing I'll say about that is Borjas offered publicly to debate a couple people who rebutted him, and they did not take him up on that challenge. That's the only thing I'll say about that.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've seen good written responses to Borjas.
I was just briefly referencing that. Yeah, Borjas makes a lot of silly assumptions you shouldn't make.
Okay, isn't Borjas' sample size also like really small in some cases? Like, isn't it like
Borjas'
very simple?
biggest issue is that he assumes perfect substitution, which you should not be. You shouldn't be doing.
I think that's actually. I think I was reading another paper earlier that I think actually argued that's a problem with a lot of skill cell analysis is that spatial analysis don't necessarily have actually, but so I think obviously the Mariel Boatlift research is like at the very least like mixed, and I would say mixed. I would have I would probably on a balance of evidence just based on like intuition and based on like the people who I respect what they say, like I would on balance say right that it seems like the evidence points to that even for people who face direct competition, their wages did not increase that much and seem to have rebounded relatively quickly. But I think obviously, like if we're concerned that like, certain sectors of the economy are going to experience slightly lower wages than they otherwise would have. One, I think, obviously there can be like benefits to that. Like for one, the immigrant obviously benefits, but the company that hires them also benefits, right? There may be spillover benefits if we see
we love lower wages, right? We love we
well, look, I
love
think
people
if
getting
you
paid less money, right?
well, again, so now we have to distinguish between the total effect and the effect on certain sectors. So like
Pull up something.
all else equal, I might not think that lower construction wages are like good, but if lower construction wages means that companies build more plants, which means that more workers are employed overall, like that's a good thing. That could, increase wages in other sectors too, right? Like I think that's an overall benefit.
I disagree. I disagree with this point. I don't think what. Hold on, I'm gonna DM you this study real quick. This is called "The Winners and Losers of Immigration" by it's by Price and colleagues, 2020. It's a more recent study. What would it, I I don't think what's the barriers to building more stuff, more homes, is because the cost of labor and construction is the issues. Most of the reasons why this is a critique that Bruneg made of Kamala Harris's housing policy. What's burying people from building more things, particularly more homes, is not the affordability to build these things. It's like due to like zoning laws. It's due to like
Mm-hmm.
like what people are actually able to build. I don't think paying construction, like we need immigrants to build things, that is contributing that much to the lack of buildings of homes. It's more so like it's literally illegal to build homes in a given area.
So yeah, so I kind of agree with that. What I'm trying to, I think obviously I think zoning laws are a primary issue. It's not actually the marginal cost of building homes, right? I think there's good research on that. Like from New York, we have that good study, but or from Manhattan, I guess specifically. What I'm trying to get at is that like obviously like it's not like always bad or it's not always bad on net for a certain sector of the economy to experience wage decline if other sectors benefit. So, for example, construction, I agree that, housing might not see a big benefit because it's illegal to build housing. But if companies can build factories easier because of lower construction wages, that clearly would have a positive effect on not only businesses, but other workers and every consumer.
Well, there's two things here. Number one, I don't think that businesses are not like I don't think factories and whatnot are not opening up shop in the United States because labor is a big issue. Or they might be trying to increase profitability with like all onshoring and whatnot. But like I don't think excuse me, drank the beer too fast. I don't think lowering wages is a necessary for factories to open up shop more. But even if it was, let's say there was, I think there's like very easy ways to mediate that. For example, we'll take a brief example. We'll use Biden's Chips Act, right? So what happened is we subsidized a lot of factories and semiconductor manufacturing to come to the United States. One of the most successful ones was Arizona, and they're doing pretty well. So even if it was the case that labor costs from, let's just say, immigration restriction would prohibit factories from being able to produce things, I think there's just ways to mediate that with government policy. I don't think the answer is we'll just bring in all these immigrants, and so that will
So I
solve the
think
problem. I think there's other ways to mediate that.
okay, so what I'm trying to get across is mostly like just the conceptual benefit of like of certain like cost savings being passed through to consumers or businesses being able to invest easier because of things. Like I agree specifically, it's unlikely that like immigration is going to have such a significant effect on like labor cost or whatever that, the US is actually going to see more like factories being built. Obviously, we're mostly a service sector economy, but I do think it's likely that, there are indirect effects or like second order effects from lowering wages to the extent that it happens that can obviously outweigh the cost to the individual's experiencing wage decline.
Well, this just seems like an empirical question. Does immigration lowering wages cause like an increase of employment or a decrease in consumer prices? I'm not convinced that it does. But also,
Well, I mean, I don't think it's you agree conceptually, like
conceptually,
that is it.
yes.
Like, sure,
I do
okay.
agree conceptually, yes, but I don't think just because you can abstractly conceptualize things and like that justifies letting in like a bajillion
Well, it
Pajis.
seems
So I
like
don't really.
I mean, like I don't like very. It seems very plausible that like if the price of labor goes down, there's going to be more labor demanded, right? And that companies would, if their marginal costs decrease, at least sometimes pass that savings on to consumers. Like I think there's probably good reasons to believe that.
Yeah, but now you got to realize though is that a lot of the people now, because you've decreased the cost of labor, i.e., decreasing wages, that even though the cost for the consumer is going to go down, now a lot of people are getting paid less. And so like,
Well,
is their purchasing power own net increased? And the answer to that would seem to be no. Actually, I actually have a study about this. Let me find it real quick.
okay. Well, I think it's hard for me to imagine that if one or very few sectors of like low skilled workers are hurt, it seems unlikely that on net like you'd actually see a decrease in purchasing power, especially because there seems to be I believe there's evidence. I think I have some studies on that. You can probably find them.
You can check that out real quick. So,
that find that like low skill immigrants actually probably increase wages for high skill workers in the U.S.
That's definitely true. That's true, but that's just like a. Do we really want to have a policy where like we're doing like redistribution of wealth from like the bottom up, like, and then like what's the utility of that? Like obviously that's going to be.
I don't think that's.
You can do a utility calculus on this. Like that's obviously going to lower utility.
I'm not sure that's the case. So for one, I don't think it's really a redistributing policy, right? I think it's arguably more redistribution for the government to actually, restrict immigration to prevent that from happening than it is for the government just to sort of let market forces, do their thing.
No,
right?
You misunderstood what I said. I said, if we're going to have a policy of open immigration and then you go higher skilled natives are going to benefit from this because now the cost of their goods is cheaper. It might be true, but the reason why the cost of their goods are cheaper is because there's a decrease of wages from lower skilled people, and so I said that's like a redistribution policy from the bottom up.
Okay, sure. So I think the reason, so on the price point, I think obviously if price goes down, that benefits everyone, and presumably that would actually benefit.
It just matters because now people have less money to spend on the prices, right?
Well, certain sectors would have less money, but I think I believe.
Right, and the prices of that, it's going to be the prices that are going to go down are going to be the people of that specific sector, right? Like the prices of a good in that sector that's producing the good, that price will go down, but so are the wages of the people in that sector.
Yeah, but obviously we would imagine there's more people buying most of these goods than there are people hurt by.
Right, but you're advocating to increase the amount of immigration coming into the country, so you're going to see more immigrants going into more sectors.
Well, I mean, I think for the most part, sort of the proportion of immigrants going into each sector would probably hold. There'd just kind of be more overall immigration.
The proportion of immigrants? No, they're going to go to more sectors.
I mean, I would imagine they might go to more. I think they might go to more sectors, but I think you would probably see like essentially the same proportion of like low skill immigrants versus whatever other immigrants like coming into the U.S. I think that's probably likely.
I mean, you're seeing the proportion of foreign born people in different sectors like rising, like, and you're seeing like the foreign born population of different states rising, like. It's kind of obvious. The more immigrants that you bring in, the more.
Yes, but part of that is also just because the U.S. Part of that is also because U.S. birth rates are lower, right? Like, so that's not necessarily indicative of increased immigration. That's also indicative of our own birth rate falling.
No, well, no, not really, because if it's both. It's really both things. But if the foreign-born population of something's increasing, that's because for the most part, the foreign-born population is increasing. Like even if like the native-born population's decreasing, you're still seeing an increase of the foreign-born population, at least on that.
Well, yeah, sure, but I think from my understanding, like the percent of the percent of the U.S. population, or the number of immigrants as a percent of U.S. population, like coming over every year, has been like relatively like stable, right? This isn't because like we've seen like a huge increase not really during
Biden.
I'm pretty sure even during Biden's term, how many immigrants do you
There's an
think came
explosion
over?
of foreign-born population during Biden's term, but I mean, yeah, there's been a year-over-year increase of foreign-born population into the country. Like you're letting in all of these people, yeah. I mean, that's tallying up the amount of foreign-born people that are in the country. Fuck, drop my babe.
Damn. I don't think it's I think it's basically. I mean, this is what I've seen. Yeah, like we basically reached close to the same levels we had in the 1900, like under the evil Biden regime. I'm pretty sure. So.
Well, that's because there was an explosion of immigrants from Ellis Island coming in the 1900s. If you look at 1924 and onwards, there was like a sharp decline in the foreign-born population.
That's because. Well, I mean, isn't that mostly because that's when we started doing immigration restrictions? Like that was when the populist era kicked off, and we started. Well, yeah. So like there wasn't some like shock that caused a bunch of immigrants to come over in the.
I mean, that's not really
1800s. It was
point.
more.
I mean, yes, we're reaching the levels of a percentage of foreign-born population in the country when we had the biggest increase of the foreign-born population in the country. Like you see what I'm saying? Like,
well, look, my point is like obviously, like the birth rate falling matters too. This isn't like just because we've seen huge increases in immigration. This is because immigration levels have returned to where they were historically, while our own birth rate is falling.
Well, first of all, when you say where they were historically, you got to add in a little bit of context here. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like 1776 to Ellis Island to immigration restriction, and now we're returning back to that. No, we're not really returning to that. There was an explosion of immigrants in the late 1800s, early 1900s from Ellis Island, which was a historical spike, and now during the Biden administration we saw another historical spike.
Was that a historical? It looks like it was pretty stable from like the 1860s all the way up until the 1920s when we started restricting immigration.
Send it to me. Let me see.
I mean, I'm just looking at. There's got to be better data on this. I'm just looking at the Pew Research stuff that came up when I Googled it. Like,
I mean, it was at 9.7 and then 14.8, and then it started going down. I mean, what percentage? Right. I mean, 9.7% to 14.8%. I mean, how much of a large increase is that? I mean, that's like a what?
Well, that's pretty. I agree. Like that's a pretty big fall off because we started
roughly like a 60% increase, like roughly around that at least, I think.
Well, but that's returning to. So, like in my view, like we had like semi-open borders like in the 1800s. From my understanding, immigration law was like pretty lax during that time. And then we started in the like populist era in 1920s, we started doing more immigration restrictions, and that obviously caused immigration rates to fall. And then in the like 60s and 70s, because of the asylum process and a bunch of things, we made it easier to immigrate here, and now we have a bunch of asylum seekers coming over, which has pushed the rate back up to kind of where it's been.
Right. So the Ellis Island period started around early 1890. And what you see is 1850, it was 9.7%. And then in 1892, I believe, is when Ellis Island started. You see like a pretty sharp increase. That's around a 60%. I don't quote me on the 60% number. Whatever 9.7% is to 14%, 14.8%. That's a pretty large increase. And then we do an immigration moratorium, and it sharply decreases. That's best period in America's history. And then it rises again to. This is 2017. I'd like to see it during Biden's administration from like 2020 to 2024, but
I can probably find it if I look hard enough. But I guess
anyways, yeah, birth rates going down. That is going to increase the amount of foreign-born population into the country. But the reason why is also because you're adding on top of it a million over a year people coming into the country. Plus now native-born people are having less babies.
Right. I mean, my point is just that obviously the having less babies point is also relevant to why the foreign-born population is increasing. It's not just because we've seen a huge, incredible increase in migration.
Right, but let's try to steer this. Let's try to steer this back. Right, if the percentage of the foreign-born population is going up, then you're going to see more and more immigrants going into more and more sectors of the economy, basically.
At what point? I I guess so. I think again, you'd probably see. I think it's more likely you basically just see higher proportions of immigrants in or of foreign-born people in the lower skill sectors, right? And I think it's less likely that you would see.
Then it just depends. Then it just depends on like the policy that we have. Like I know a lot of people want to. I know Trump. There was a huge stuff about like increasing H-1B visas and like stapling a green. Like I remember during the campaign, he said something like stapling a green card to like the back of every diploma. Like it's just gonna depend.
So based.
That's so retarded. Holy shit.
Wait, okay, we'll get to that. But I do think like that. As
long as we agree, and I don't think you're going to disagree, that immigrants with the people they're competing with, those people they're competing with are going to drive down wages. I think you agree to that.
I think like I said, I think I'd have to do more research because like most of the research on it is like very controversial. I would say it's likely that you would see.
Even Noah Smith, when he wrote his article on H-1B visas, he had a caveat that said, when you're looking at occupations, the given occupations that immigrants go to, yes, that is going to decline wages. Like if you look at the occupational literature, there's a pretty broad consensus that the occupations that immigrants go to, those guys see a decline.
Sure.
In their
so
wages.
I think it's. I think it's likely in the short term, especially for low skill work, that you're going to see at least slower wage growth. Like I said, I think there's obviously other benefits, right? Like there are jobs that like probably wouldn't be done otherwise. There's more work done, just more fundamentally.
Disagree with that.
You don't think you don't think companies would probably hire more people if wage rates went down? Like it seems like that's probably
historically what we've seen is that the jobs that immigrants would do, natives would fill it at like a literal 1-to-1 ratio.
Based on what? I mean, I think it's obviously likely that, as I mentioned earlier, like if we saw construction wages go down, you would probably see more construction work being done. I
don't think that's true. I would need to see some evidence for that.
The law of demand. I mean,
I'm a PK. I don't really accept this law of demand stuff.
That's true. I don't know. Like I think I don't know. We might have very different frameworks for trying to analyze.
Well, I mean, have you read Straffa?
No, I haven't. I mean, I will probably one day. But
there's no need to get a little too autistic here, but like you got like Kalecki's like wage-led growth models, right? And so it's just like.
I mean, I'm not. I'd have to do a lot of reading. Like I said, I'm gonna be a little hesitant to.
I'll get Sam to talk to you about that stuff. But yeah, I'm not convinced that lowering wages is gonna make people make more things. I'm not convinced of that. But
yeah. Do you think that like just generally, like you'd probably see the PPF curve shift outwards?
No.
What's the justification for that one?
Wait, PPF.
Production possibilities frontier curve, like the basic like.
Well, yeah. Once again, I'm gonna need to see empirical evidence for this.
I'm sure you could probably find some.
Let's see it.
I don't think I have.
Well, what about like with unions, right? We agree unions increase wages, and like presumably, I've seen pretty good evidence unions increase productivity. Mm-hmm. So it's like.
What? I mean, I think. I think there's probably the mechanism by which unions increase productivity is probably like they secure benefits for workers that improve their overall health and like make them more productive or whatever.
Immigration restriction would do the same thing. Like the role.
No, I don't see. I don't see a clear mechanism there, but
it increases labor's relationship to capital. Workers are going to have more bargaining power because the labor market's tighter.
I think you might. Well, I guess if you say like if you restrict the supply of labor and they have more bargaining power, they might be able to utilize that bargaining power to secure better deals or whatever. I think that's By the
way, immigration decreases unionization. By the way, that should have been an important caveat. But
based.
Based. Oh my god, dude! How much of a fucking I almost said a slur, but
I could be like,
so I mean,
I'm not gonna I'm not like totally anti-union, but like I'm not gonna like base my opinion on immigration on like how badly like unions are affected. I think I care more kind of just about like the aggregate impacts of
well,
on prices
it calls like a 30% decrease in union density. Cato has a study about this. And what else? I mean, I don't know if you'll agree to this. I don't. I know that's all I talked about with Mindy was like the impact immigration has on wages.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's a pretty big obfuscation. When people's opposition to immigration is mostly not based on economics, it's mostly a social cultural issue. It's mostly people don't want to be around brown people. Um, and I do think when it comes to economics, I just want to be clear. It does seem to be that there are going to be losers to it, and the people who are going to lose to it. I got a phone call. Hold on, give me a second.
Goddamn.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that seemed to be good. People are going to lose from it, and the people who are going to lose from it are going to be the people who are already not doing too well in the economy. And I don't want to see people the people who aren't doing well, them continue not to do so well because we're bringing immigrants in. And the potential drawbacks you can see from restrictions of immigration, like, maybe higher costs of consumer goods because, now the cost of labor has risen. I think there's ways to mediate that with government policy. I don't think the solution is we're
I
just
mean,
going to bring
I would also say the same thing about any concerns for like, oh, people are going to be left behind because of their wage decline or whatever. Obviously, government policy on welfare can mediate that as well.
Yeah, but the pragmatics of that, the practicality of that is going to be much lower.
I'm not sure that's the case. You think you think it's, well, what's so non-pragmatic about like welfare? Like, what's the?
Oh yeah, this was like Richard Hanania's whole argument. Diversity does cause a decrease in social cohesion, and that's a good thing because when there's a decrease of social cohesion, there's less likelihood of a welfare state to emerge because you need social trust for a welfare state to happen. So when you bring in all of these people, and you're like, yeah, people are going to be left behind, but we'll create a welfare state so there's a social safety net for them to fall back on, and so we can maximize the gains and minimize the costs. The pragmatic problem with that is that people are going to be less likely to support a welfare state when you're bringing in immigrants into the country. That's just the case. I got a couple studies on that if you want to see it.
That wouldn't like necessarily surprise me, but I'm not convinced the effect would be so big such that like you would actually see people or you'd actually see like a net loss.
There's been estimates that oh my fuck, I forgot the way it went. I'll try to find it, but like literally around like 50% of the variation between the Nordic, like having like a Nordic. I believe the paper was called like, why doesn't the United States have a Nordic style welfare system or something to that around effect? And they literally said that like the biggest contribution to that was because of racial diversity, and because of that explains a huge reason for why America doesn't have a system like that. And that seems to like generally be true. Like the most red states are the ones that are most diverse. People usually don't support, and I mean we can get into this if we want.
I think I find that intuitively not very plausible. I'd have to do more research on it, but I think like obviously there are other candidates that would that would probably have a bigger effect. Like we probably just don't see their governments are more democratic, more transparent. They have
yeah, but why?
I doubt it's because of social cohesion caused by ethnic hegemony. Like I don't know how well that holds.
I definitely do. I mean, immigrants are low human capital. People don't want to create a welfare state when they perceive these people coming into the country. They're going to be the ones that benefit from it. Like there's a reason Denmark like heavily cut down the amount of immigrants that were coming into the country.
Right. I mean, I think I think for one, like if you are really concerned about that, you could exclude immigrants from welfare, although maybe you know,
Yeah, but
democratically,
that's just going
that's
to cause
hard
a
to do.
selection bias of
But
less immigrants coming into the country. Like Sweden did something like that, and the result was like
well, I
net
think you.
migration out of the country.
Well, maybe, but I think I think like you could argue like you know the immigrants who would come in that scenario are probably the ones who expect to make it, you know, by themselves. So you know you're
Yeah,
probably gonna
right,
get higher.
right. That would be like the net result with that would be probably less immigrants coming into the country, and then the type of immigrants that are coming in would be different from the ones that were previously coming in. They'd be much higher skilled, higher IQ, whatever.
Sure. So I think like I don't know like I think I've seen like you know plausible stuff from like Sweden that's like oh they accepted a lot of Syrian refugees and you know
And the
they
rate fucking skyrocketed.
I don't know if that's true. I've not seen I don't think I've seen good evidence of that. I've seen people fight about that, but I don't take a stake one way or the other.
Usually it's England
Um,
what they're fighting about. The other countries like Germany, Denmark, Sweden, that's pretty accepted.
okay. I mean, like accepted by who? Like accepted by
The
it's not
data.
accepted by accepted by a lot of people
See
that
if I can find some. Let's see if I
I've
can
seen.
find some stuff
But
about rape in Sweden.
I mean, you'd also have to do. You'd also have to, you know, actually find some causal, like, causal link there. Which maybe there are studies on the
Wait a
causal.
second. Wait a second.
What?
It would be like you. Well, it would be the immigrants who got arrested. It would bear out in like incarceration or like arrest rates.
Sure, like that. I agree. Like that could be evidence. I'm just saying, like, you know, they're probably you'd have to do more work than just like showing me that rape in Sweden has gone up.
I didn't. Oh no!
Like I think
When I
you.
said rape skyrocket, I didn't mean just like the fucking average rape rate went up. Like I meant like there were more, literally more Syrians raping people.
Okay. But I
I'm
will say,
trying to
like this,
find it.
obviously, I don't know. This probably gets into another conversation, but you know, I will say, like, it doesn't seem, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the U.S. has a lot of the same issues with like, like extremist immigrants as like Europe does. Like, I think we, you know, for whatever
No, we just
issues you
have
think that,
Mexicans who do that more. We just have Mexicans who commit much more crime.
do you think, much more crime compared to who? Compared to the Muslim immigrants
White
in?
people.
I mean, I
No,
think you
white people. No, no, no,
probably.
no, no. No, bringing in more Hispanics. Like Hispanics account for like 50% of the population growth since 1970. And Hispanics commit around, they have an incarceration rate like around 2 times that of white people. Like it's pretty clear those
Wait, hold
guys
on, real
have.
quick. Very important question from chat. Are Puerto Ricans better than Mexicans?
Uh, fuck. No, no, we'll say no.
No,
We'll say
no. Okay,
no.
okay.
Because with
Good to know. Good to
Mexicans
know.
are much more admixed. Mexicans are much more admixed.
Okay. But like, look. So I don't think we have particularly good evidence on, the effect of illegal immigration on crime. But I think the evidence we do have suggests that illegal immigrants probably aren't committing more crime or especially violent crime. The natives do, which would actually, you know, as the percentage of the illegal immigrants in the population increases, that would actually,
Well,
you would expect that to reduce
Sis has
relative.
some data on that from Texas that contradicts that, but
I think, yeah, but I've seen, I think Cato revealed that they were like literally double
yeah, the
counting in
Alex,
that,
yeah, the Jew,
right? Like
he
I've
tried
seen
to
that
refute
whole,
it.
well, they were, from my understanding, maybe they corrected it and the effect still holds, but they were like literally double counting some immigrants from Texas, right?
No, they got the data. They got it from like, oh fuck, if I'm remembering correctly, they got data from uh some government agency, and then Alex accused them of double counting, and then Sis released a statement from the government agency they got it from, and basically was like, uh, "There's no double counting in this." It was something that effect. I don't care that much about that because, in my opinion, native and immigrant is an irrelevant distinction.
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
I think,
because the native crime rate's heavily inflated by second generation immigrants and black people. There's a very specific reason why I said white people and not natives. Obviously,
sure.
immigrants
Well, I
commit
think,
less crime than natives.
Yeah, right. So I think I was going to say like the reason you might see like Hispanics committing more crime or whatever is part of that is because like obviously like second and third generation immigrants commit more crime than first generation immigrants, but that's more just some kind of matching the level that native born people have or
They
whatever.
don't match. They
But I
don't
think
match. They don't match. They don't match white crime rates.
I was saying native born people. And I was not like specifying
But there is
white
no.
or anything.
I
But
got into an argument with sample text over this.
oh no.
So, yeah, I agree. Well, do I agree? Yes, second and third generation immigrants commit more crime than their parents or grandparents do, and it starts to reflect the national average a little bit more. But you got to remember something: national average is the way it is because around 13% of the population heavily inflate the national average. Now, if you look at Hispanic compared to white, compared to black, compared to Asian, Hispanics fall somewhere in the middle between significantly less than black people and significantly more than white people. The point I'm making about crime is white people were around 90% of the population in 1965 or 1970. Since 1970, there's been a huge explosion of Hispanics. Hispanics have around 2 times the crime rate of white people did. If we did not let the explosion of Hispanics into the country, the crime rate would be lower than it is if white people if there wasn't this huge demographic shift from more to less white people.
Well, I think you obviously also would have seen, like, I think, like if I, to some extent, I'll accept that, but I think obviously part of that, I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations about this with people. Obviously, I would intuitively think part of that is because Hispanics are probably disproportionately poor and white people are disproportionately rich, and you do
Well,
probably
I
see some
don't think
variance,
poverty
but you do also.
has a cultural. I don't think poverty has a cultural role in
I'm not sure
violent
if
crime.
just poverty does, but don't we see that like just generally lower quintiles commit more crime, even if
Yeah,
you.
but that's you do see that. That's core. I said causally. Not. I do agree that poor people are more likely to commit crime. I don't think that's causal. I think that's just a correlation there because I mean I don't see why being poor would make you more likely to rape or murder someone. I might need to say unaliving or grape. I don't know,
No, you can
but
say that, but yeah.
right. I don't know why growing up poor would make you more likely to rape or murder someone. It's just probably the case that rapists and murderers are sociopathic, antisocial, stupid people, and that same demographic's more likely to be poor. The way you could test this is simply seeing do increases of socioeconomic well-being decrease or increase the likelihood to commit a violent crime, and for the most part, it's statistically insignificant. I actually just had a conversation about that.
I mean, I
This
could
is
see. Sure. So, like, I could see, like, plausibly that poverty would
you can
increase
check the
crime just
study. Well,
because.
I sent you a figure from a study. The study is just called "Does Nothing Stop a Bullet Like a Job?" This is figure one from that,
Mhm.
and then you can look. Property crime. The specific claim was about violent crime. Property crime, yeah, poverty probably does play a cultural role there, but
Sure.
most of the racial disparities in crime are driven by differences in violent crime. And you could look at figure one of that, and then you could go to the right hand side of that figure, and you can look at violent crime. And what you see is the 3 lines of evidence they use is a job program, macro level evidence, or a transfer program. And what you see is the vast majority. This is a literature review. The vast majority of the studies find basically a statistically insignificant impact on the likelihood to commit a crime.
Of violent crimes. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
This is a pretty low quality thing, but yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah, I can read it. Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like, I think it's so. I agree. It's definitely like more plausible that poverty might cause property crimes, but not violent crime. I think I probably agree with that. I just, it would just come down to, it would come down to like weighing, obviously, like, is there like the benefits that we've probably seen from Hispanic immigration that you might not think are there versus, versus how much crime we think they cause. And then it's a question of, obviously, is there a better system where we can mitigate whatever increased crime rate we might expect.
Let's just think about this for 2 seconds. The increase of Hispanic immigration has led to uh, probably less innovation. It's led to more crime. It's led to a decrease in social cohesion. It's led to a significant change in the cultural way of life in America. And the benefit would be maybe cheaper goods, increase of GDP. In the
Well,
increase of
obviously,
GDP
I
per
think those
capita.
are. Yeah, obviously, I think increasing GDP and GDP per capita is a good thing. Increasing the tax base as well is probably a good thing. I think I'm curious what the justification for less innovation is.
Yeah,
I
I
think
got that. Give me a second. Food's on the table. I heard you. Sorry, my dad popped in. Give me one moment.
Sure.
Fuck, where is this? Give me just one moment here. Smartest Nazi you're ever going to talk to, by the way. That's a joke, not a Nazi. Not a Nazi.
Well, yeah, how close are you? You know, do we think Hispanics have higher crime rates because of genetics, or do we think it's like a cultural thing?
Probably.
Probably. Okay, so
Yeah, that's why
we're
I'm
not.
not a Nazi. I actually believe in. That's why I'm not a Nazi. I actually believe in genes. Nazis weren't really known for that. Now, since you can go to figure. What's the figure? Table 7. You can go to table 7. And what you see is percent of innovation sample. Hispanic makes up around 1.4%. And the percentage of the United States population is around 11.5%. And so the rate of representation is around 0.1.
Well, you would probably, but I mean, the counterfactual there would probably just be a smaller U.S. population overall, right? And like you wouldn't see if you totally like banned Hispanic immigrations. I don't think the counterfactual would be like a higher U.S. population with U.S. White people that have more innovation. I think you just see
proportionality of the country being more likely to innovate.
I think yeah, but you'd still probably have overall less innovation, right? Because the total population would be smaller. You'd see less people overall coming up with new ideas.
No, you could have an immigration system because, like you said, the counterfactual is you don't have any Hispanics in. Well, if you don't let the 1965 Immigration Act happen and you keep a national quota system, what you see here, which heavily favored Europeans, you see the European sample. You see the European sample is much, much more likely to innovate. So if you allow more Europeans in and less Hispanics in, you're definitely going to get a country's more likely to innovate. And plus, you also got to remember here, Hispanics are replacing white people. So you're replacing people who are less likely to innovate with people who are more likely to innovate. That's the biggest thing.
Well, so obviously, I would, again, like the thing I would take issue with is that they're replacing white people because it seems like they're probably not doing that. Unless you...
Wait, what do you mean they're not doing that?
I mean, I don't think the U.S. would have like higher birth rates if we didn't have Hispanic immigrants or something. Like, I think it would just seem overall smaller.
It's going to be more Hispanic and less white due to Hispanics coming into the country. And so due to the fact that there's less white people here, that means there's going to be less people who are...
I don't think that...
I'm talking about I'm not talking about total numbers here.
Right, but if you have a smaller total population, but the U.S. native born percentage of that is higher, like you would not see more. I don't understand how we're seeing more innovation from that than if you had the same absolute number of U.S. born people, but additionally you had Hispanic people. I think you would just see more innovation.
I'm saying, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying due to the fact that Hispanics are proportionately increasing in the demographics of the country and white people are proportionately decreasing, that's going to correspond to the country there's going to be more people in the country who are less likely to innovate compared to if you had more white people in the country, you would have a country that's more likely to innovate.
Hold on, sorry, repeat that.
What's this?
So repeat the last thing. Okay. That you would if you had more white people in the country, you would have more innovation.
Yeah, you'd have more people who are likely to innovate compared to people who are less likely to innovate.
I just think like it's unlikely. Obviously, to be fair, you did mention the like European immigration, but I think you would still see absolutely more innovation, like in total terms, from having the same U.S. population with additionally Hispanic people.
Probably not in the next 30 years when white people are going to be a minority, and as the Hispanic population,
but I think white people
grow,
but I think like our birth rate is probably going to decline essentially no matter what, right? So I think you would see just a declining.
To say about it.
That's true.
No, the point is very simple. Hispanics are less likely to innovate, and they're becoming the bro, who the fuck keeps adding me? God damn, leave me alone. You know, I tell people I'm gonna go on a live, and then that's when people decide they want to talk to me, right?
Damn.
Anyways, let me get back to the point. Hispanic population is less likely to innovate, and they're becoming more of a percentage of the country. The logical conclusion of that's going to be, you know, this is kind of just like modus ponus. If Hispanics are less likely to innovate and are increasing in proportionality of the demographics of the country is less likely going to innovate.
So I don't think that follows again for two reasons. One, obviously, I like the total number of people matter as well. You can have you could see the share of, you could see the population of white people rising still, but the share of Hispanics as a percent of the population increasing because, you know, they're just growing at a faster rate than white people. And if there are more white people, you would still expect, you know, more innovation overall. You know, even if even
but
under
is the country less
numbers,
likely to innovate though? Is the country?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Especially additionally because
yes, it is. There's less white people as a percentage of the country. The country's less likely.
There could obviously still be more white people overall. Again, I think the counterfactual here.
Oh my holy shit! Yeah, but the total number of Hispanics is increasing in comparison to the total number of white people.
I understand. I don't think that makes.
Okay.
We would expect.
What did you eat for breakfast this morning?
That's complicated because I got 3 hours of sleep from 2 p.m.
No,
to...
I'm fucking with you. Listen, if Hispanic people are less likely to innovate, okay, and the proportion of the country is becoming more Hispanic, the country is less likely to innovate. Okay, that has to follow. And I think it does
because again, you could see if white people are doing all the innovation and the white population increases still, you would see more innovation.
But the white population's not.
No, I agree, but it doesn't. You understand? It doesn't follow from what you said at least because you could see the proportion of Hispanics increasing, but the total population of white people still increasing.
No, the country's still less likely to innovate because the country's becoming more Hispanic. If Hispanics are becoming more likely to be in the country and the proportion of the country is becoming more Hispanic, even if the total number of white people is increasing, that's just going to mean that the total number of Hispanics is also increasing faster than the number or larger than the number of white people in the country.
I agree. That's what I agree, but that doesn't mean
so America
you wouldn't expect
more Hispanic and less white is going to mean America's
it doesn't follow that there'd be less innovation because again, if you're saying white people are doing more innovation or whatever, if the number of white people in the U.S. increased, you would still expect innovation to increase.
The likelihood of the country to innovate is going to go down, not the total number of innovations happening.
The
likelihood of the country innovating is going to go down.
How would we? I don't know how we're measuring that. Like what? Like are we like ideas per capita or something? Like are we? You might have less. You might have less ideas for.
You can look at files for. Well, I don't know how good of a measure patents are. You look at something like that, you can see like the amount of people like cited in like a research paper that leads to innovation happening. You can look at just things like that. The likelihood of that happening due to the fact that there's more Hispanics than white people, it's just going to happen less. It has to.
No, I don't think you would see less total innovation. I think total innovation is the thing that matters. Because you could still obviously like see what?
What'd you say?
Obviously, like you would still see more total innovation, and I think total innovation is probably the thing that matters.
Total innovation. No, I mean the reason. Okay,
I don't know why we would care about like per capita innovation. That seems like a silly metric to me. But
what we want to know is Hispanics becoming more and more of a percent of the country? Will that lead to more or less innovation? And the answer is probably yes, because Hispanics are less likely to innovate. So the more Hispanics you have around, obviously, the less likely the country is to innovate.
Obviously, it doesn't follow because the total size of the population matters as well. Obviously, if you had more, if white people were responsible for 100% of the innovation and the white population was increasing, you would still see more innovation, even if the Hispanic population was increasing as a percentage of the total population,
Yeah, but the
just
proportion
because
of the
Hispanics
country that
were.
is innovating, okay, is the proportion of the country that's innovating going down? That would be true. Has to be.
And that,
Um,
yeah, sure, but I don't think that matters. I think what matters
okay.
is
So
total
now,
innovation.
living in the real world, the total number of white people is also going down.
Sure. I think at least in the U.S., yeah.
Okay. So what I said was true.
No, I think you would still. I think you probably still see more total innovation, especially because. Well, first of all, I think what matters more importantly is you were arguing it follows that there would be less innovation before, and I don't think that's true. But second of all, I
It is
think.
true. It has to be. Hispanics are less likely to innovate. They're becoming
Oh my
the
God! Did
total
we just
number
agree that
of
I couldn't?
Hispanics going down. I don't understand what's so hard to not follow about this. Like I can literally like, come on now. If P implies Q and Q is true, P is also true. Like and that's exactly what I followed here. Now,
But you would follow like per capita innovation would follow, but not total innovation.
holy shit, dude. That total innovation wouldn't go down. That would just depend on the total number of white people there are, and the total number of white people is also going down.
Okay.
All right. So what I said
Wow.
was true. TRVE. Now,
No, I don't think that.
um,
Okay. Regardless. Okay. But also, like,
okay.
obviously, I think there are actually increasing returns to scale from ideas, right? An idea has a larger benefit when there's a larger population, right? And there's a fixed cost to develop ideas. So it seems like we'd actually probably, expect more innovation from
Yeah,
an increasing
but no
population.
offense, but immigrants are like retarded. Like they're not coming up with ideas.
I'm not convinced that I don't think that's true of all immigrants.
Average
I think
immigrant
they're
IQ is like 88.
right, but I think so. Obviously, like H-1B visa immigrants are like way more likely to like get a patent than the average like
That's actually not true.
U.S.
That's
citizen,
actually
right?
not true.
That's not true.
Yeah, I can. I got a study on this.
I'm pretty sure I have evidence this is the opposite. So I don't know. It'd come down to.
Hold on.
And we do see we see just like generally that upward mobility among immigrants is higher than like native born people. So I think that's like obviously they seem to do fine for themselves.
So you can check out the study I sent in the chat. Firms that win at H-1B visa lotteries, like like the likelihood of innovation is at most
Oh, I think I
moderate, and
have. I
for
think
the
I have
most
seen
part,
this
it's
study.
not that big.
But I believe there are like studies that say the direct opposite. I think it would just come down to, I think it would just come down to.
Hold on. Did Parker respond to my tweet? Give me a second. Sorry. Holy shit, dude! Fucking. Just give me a moment. Hold on. Sorry to do this live to you. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Did you delete the fucking tweet?
What Parker?
Or no, he
It'd be really
didn't.
funny.
Let me. Someone said he responded. No, he hasn't. What a fucking. Sorry. What a dumbass.
Can't say that one on Twitch. Yeah, they don't like that one. Most other things are accessible, not that one.
Anyways. What were we talking about?
We're talking about innovation and immigrants, essentially.
Yeah, immigrants innovate less than white people. Yeah.
So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the average immigrant innovates less, simply because, like the average immigrant probably is relatively low skill. But like, I think it seems like if you look at high school immigrants,
Well,
I believe
listen,
that they.
I'm not for a moratorium on immigration. I'm for a revert to the national quota system, which I think would for the most part select for um higher skilled, high IQ people who are going to contribute to innovation. Yeah.
Well, didn't you just say like Trump's policy of like looking at or like attaching a green card to every diploma was a bad
I'm not
one? I mean,
convinced
that
that's
seems.
going to fucking increase innovation.
I mean, I don't know if that would.
The average postgraduate IQ is like 102. So like if you're just like giving out people who because he even said like junior colleges. So like if you're like stapling a green card to people who like did literally the bare minimum of something that like midwit average intelligence people can do, like that's probably not going to have that big of an impact on intelligence. I mean on innovation.
I think it would. Hold on. I don't know. I think you would I think on net you would probably see an increase in innovation, even if obviously there'd be some people who would just go to college for like low skill degrees or whatever, or average IQ nitwit degrees. Like I think
yeah, but for every let's just like every green card you give out to someone, like the likelihood of that person to innovate is like I don't know. I would have to run the math on this. But like, given what I know about the IQs of people who graduate and like just the likelihood of them to to innovate, plus looking at like the IQ of immigrants, is the impact on innovation is probably going to be marginal. And I would say another thing you got to deal with here is while it is true, like economic thinking isn't zero sum. For the most part, geopolitics and foreign policy is. And I mean, you run into a pretty big problem when you have like Indians and Chinese people working in Silicon Valley. Like they are heavily colluding with like their old boys in China and in India.
Is there any? I don't know if there's any good evidence of that. And I think that obviously
100% there is.
I don't know. I have not seen. 100%. I have not seen. I've not seen good evidence of it. And I also, to the extent that skilled immigration matters for national security. Like I think China just has like a higher population overall, right? They're always going to have like a higher skill pool than the U.S. does. So I think it makes sense for the U.S. to pull from other countries for its skill pool as well, right?
Yeah, but let's do it from Europe. Let's do white people. We ain't got to do fucking Chinese.
Well, I mean most. Well, I mean
for example, this is from Bernstein and colleagues 2022, and that whole study was saying that immigrants do innovate more than the average native born. But in I think either the last page or the second to last page, they state, quote, in surveys of Silicon Valley, 82% of Chinese and Indian immigrant scientists and engineers report exchanging technical information with their respective nations. So that's definitely something that is happening. That's something you got to worry about and focus on.
Wait, sorry, repeat that. Sorry, repeat that. Repeat the last sentence.
Jesus. Yeah. In surveys of Silicon Valley, 82% of Chinese and Indian immigrant scientists and engineers report exchanging technical information with their respective nations. So that is something you got to worry about.
I think that might be pretty. That seems pretty broad to me, but all right. I think like obviously it's more. I think because of how broad that seems, it's more likely we see a net benefit to national security from skilled immigration than a net loss for national security from skilled immigration. Like I don't know what technical information means, and I don't know like what colleagues mean. Like that seems way overly broad.
They're sharing the shit they find with their homeland. They're like calling up their cousins, fucking Pajit, whatever the fuck one of their names would be, and just be like, yo, we got this. Here's what you need to know. This, and this. And it's
right, but like that could it could be like it's some guy working for
benefits of national security when like all the benefits that you're getting, they're literally like exchanging what they got with their other countries. Like,
but like I don't like it could be people like saying like telling their friends who don't work for the government or anything that like I did this at work today or whatever. And they're having a casual conversation, or it could be like some evil fucking spy for the Chinese government sending information on how F-35s work to the Chinese government.
But that's probably what's happening.
I think
been tons of.
I don't think
there was a whole court case in Canada about this very issue. Like, yeah, that is something that happens.
I'm sure that's conceivably. I'm sure that that has probably happened more than one time. But like again, I think it doesn't. I have not seen any solid evidence that it happens like at remotely a scale that we should be concerned enough about that we shouldn't have skilled immigration, considering the other national security benefits that we probably get from it.
What are the other national security benefits?
Yeah, I mean, I think like obviously, so like I said, China is always going to have like a higher pool of skilled workers than we do, considering that they just have like a fuck ton more people. So I think if we want to have the same number of skilled workers in China working for, you know, military, or maybe not necessarily military companies, because you might have issues with that, but, you know, working for strategic industries, at least like advanced semiconductor manufacturing, working on solar or whatever, like we would want skilled immigrants to come here and participate in that.
Okay, so two things. Number one, we can do that, but we don't need Indians and Chinese people to do it. Second thing, we can definitely take people from Europe to do it. Second thing to that is, would you be okay with tariffing these specific industries to become less reliant on like global supply chains?
I think like strictly speaking, like subsidies are probably almost always going to be better than tariffs. But I think like in very specific cases, like maybe. But I think like it's a weird, like need is a funny word. Like we probably could conceivably do some of these things without immigrants, but obviously for one, the opportunity cost would be higher.
Let's not get it fucking twisted here. Like most people on H-1B visas, they're not innovating. They're not doing the things that they're talking about. They're going and working at like fucking Tesla. They're going and work like something like 40% of software developers are on an H-1B visa. Like there's another type of visa.
I think software developers are pretty beneficial for us, but sure, yeah.
Well, you got Americans who can do that.
Well,
work on.
Yeah, but why wouldn't we want? Right, but we'd obviously like things.
Why would you want immigrants to do it if you got Americans who could do it? Like I don't know.
Because Americans could be doing other things. Because one, there's an opportunity cost to an American doing it, obviously, and like two, we could at least imagine situations in which
Americans can be the ones working. You could work at McDonald's. You don't have to. You don't have to do these much more higher paid, higher skilled, higher paid jobs.
Well, I think. Well, it could be the case. It could be the case that Americans go on to do like even higher skilled jobs. But obviously, like I would prefer, like if my choice is between like, an Indian immigrant working at McDonald's, an Indian immigrant working in software and just no McDonald's worker at all, and an Indian immigrant working in software. And an American, the initial example should be an American working in software and no McDonald's working at all, versus an Indian immigrant working in software and a McDonald's job. I think obviously the second scenario is probably preferable, considering we just have like more overall like work done in society. We have a higher.
You're assuming here that either it has to be an immigrant that does the McDonald's job, or it has to be a native, or vice versa. You can have natives do the McDonald's job and also do the higher skilled jobs. You can definitely do that. Look,
I think there's obviously like an opportunity cost to having natives work in sectors they like otherwise wouldn't be in because of immigration. Like,
you can just automate. You can automate like these shitty sectors.
Well, there'd be an opportunity cost for the investment needed to automate all these things. Like,
not really. I don't see so. And also, but hold on, just to be like more grounded in reality, most of the fucking immigrants are not working in these higher skilled jobs. Like that's just not happening.
Well, we were talking about H-1B. I mean, I agree. Obviously, like the average immigrant is like relatively low skill. I still think that's probably valuable, but yeah.
Okay. Well, on the H-1B visas thing, they're probably yes, there's more economic benefits for higher skilled immigrants than lower skilled immigrants. But I think there's more cultural problems with that, though.
Wait, I mean, what's the justification for that? I'm really curious. I don't know.
Yeah, because for example, like 40% of Harvard's like graduating class was like East Asian, like 40% of it. Now, Harvard's graduating class is a pretty good proxy for like elite. And East Asians just have like really shitty opinions. Like I don't want them being the elite.
How do they? Okay, first of all, if they're presumably one, if they have high enough IQs to go through Harvard and graduate, I would imagine in most cases, their benefits would probably outweigh whatever ideas we think they bring. But I don't think like the average Asian immigrant is really bringing particularly harmful ideals to America. Like what are we like? They're going to spread what? They're going to spread
100%.
Confucianism. We're going to be they're going to impose Confucianist law. Like what are we?
They're much more collectivist. They have much more authoritative opinions. They're much more in favor of freedom.
Collectivist?
Huh?
Aren't you a collectivist?
No, I'm a communitarian. It's kind of different, but they're much more They're much more ethnocentric. That might be a better word. They're much more ethnocentric. They're much more left-wing authoritarian. They want to pass more, freedom of speech regulations, gun control regulations, whatever it may be. And I don't want fundamentally a foreign class having such a high percentage of elites. I don't want that. I think that's going to be harmful, and I'm not down with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't I would have to see a lot better evidence that they're
imposing magazine has a lot of good evidence on it. It's called the
such harmful ideas.
Immigration.
Okay, I mean, I think first of all, I don't even think all those ideas are bad. We're obviously both somewhat left wing. I don't know how I feel about gun control, but I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna be super. I fucking hate these immigrants because they just care about gun control so much. There might be other issues I care more about.
It's a foreign population becoming more and more percentage of that elite class, specifically a foreign-born population that's a much more ethnocentric. Their interests are going to be not aligned with mine. They're a completely different race. They're completely different people, and I don't want those being a higher proportion of who's going to be basically the new people in charge. I don't. I honestly don't. That's much more important to me than the national security benefit. I mean, I'm more so kind of cringy to say this, and I don't like the term, but I've been called a third worldist. I'm not too fucking interested in America's national security. I think we should play less of a role in that stuff. But anyways,
well, I think I don't think it's likely that foreign-born elites are going to have interests significantly different than yours, or significantly at least relative to American elites.
Well, American elites are a bunch of Jews. Yeah, they're also. They're also not me. Both of these groups have negative opinions about white people. They have a net bias against white people and a net bias for themselves. And I don't want those people governing me. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to say.
You don't think it seems like you have a net bias against every other race, but maybe I'm sure you have
against me. Only because they have one against me.
I'm sure. I bet that
it's a completely reactive thing.
I mean, I think obviously, we just have such. I don't know how to begin divulging disagreement over whether or not Asian elites have an anti-white bias that's gonna fuck everyone over.
Not even close.
Not even close. What?
Not even close. They definitely have an anti-white bias.
Yeah, I just don't.
Steve Saylor has.
It's gonna be very hard to prove that to be. It seems like a very fundamental.
Oh no! Hold on.
Okay.
Steve Saylor has a good stuff on this. Aporia magazine has a whole article written about this. The data's definitely there.
All right.
I accept your defeat.
Seems very unlikely, but okay. I think. Okay. What? Here's some other claims. We basically talked about H-1B stuff.
Can you agree that Mehdi should get the hell out of the country? That's the biggest claim.
No, I don't think so. I don't.
Dude, he's a piece of shit. Fuck him.
Why is he a piece of shit? I think.
He was very rude to be around.
In fairness, they stuck him in a room. They stuck him in a pretty hostile environment, and they wanna get content for it. Well, did he?
Yes. See, you saw the edited version. You weren't there for 3 hours like I was.
I think certain people there might have had an brown people bias in general. So I think it's
A
likely
lot
that
of them were brown. What are we talking about here, dude? What are we talking
yeah, a lot of them
about?
are like openly like open like fascist
A
and
lot of them were groypers. I mean, Nick. I mean, come on now.
yeah.
We know Nick's a little Hispanic. We know how these guys get down.
You know, he doesn't like to admit it. You know, he thinks it's only 9% Hispanic or whatever. But
He's probably
like,
no. He's white. He's white. No, I love my groypers. I love my groypers.
but like, I think
Now,
obviously, I think the fact that like Nick Fuentes has to do some bullshit math to determine that he's not
it's
25%
not
Mexican
bullshit.
or
That's
whatever.
100% valid.
Okay, 100% valid, true race realism math that he's not Mexican and is in fact
If you want to get into
98%
the race
white.
realism math, that's going to be easy cooking.
I don't like. I'd have to prepare a lot for that. I think you could have much better conversations about that with other people. I don't know, but
Yeah, bring me Sasha.
obviously,
Bring me
obviously
Sasha.
the reason he has to do that is because the Groypers seem to have a anti-brown bias, as you would say, seemingly.
No, we love.
And probably anti-Muslim
listen,
bias too, right?
Mehdi
I think
acted
Mehdi's a
like a
Muslim, so.
complete piece of shit. Okay, like he was an asshole, and they edited out. See, the funniest part about me and his interaction was I cited the Ludwig Institute, and he mistaked that for the Mises Institute.
I was
That
told
was
by
fucking.
Sample, yeah.
That was fucking priceless.
Okay, also about that. That's a pretty stupid measure. Like I think obviously it does not capture what people think of as or what a useful definition of the term unemployment is. Like I think
Sure.
it's so why are we like
Sure.
why are we citing that to Mehdi when it's not a very useful definition of unemployment?
It appeals to his intuitions as like a progressive LARPer. Like, oh yeah, there is a shortage
Well, I
of
might
good jobs. Oh yeah, the economy isn't doing too well. Like, yeah, it appeals to him.
I mean, it probably appeals to his intuitions. I just think it's a dumb. I think it's a dumb measure, and even to the extent that it's a good measure, like it's it's at an all-time low right now. Or I don't know if it's like literally at the all-time low, but it's like really, it's lower than any time other than like 2020.
Are you talking about Ludwig's? What are we talking about? Are we talking when you say it's an
The
all-time low, are we
functional,
talking about like that?
the true
Right.
unemployment rate, like
No,
since
it's definitely it's low, but like it's still like around 1/4 of the population. It's about 24%.
yeah, because you're just taking U6 unemployment and then adding like a constant to it. Like yeah, obviously you're gonna
yes,
get
yes.
yeah. That seems kind of dumb.
To do what? To measure unemployment? Oh yeah, probably. Unemployment's just like voluntary, like who has a job and who doesn't. But the larger point was that like he was like uh what was I forgot even the reason I brought it up. Yeah. Well,
You
there
said
are
we
like,
have
a lot of people.
Americans that
A
could be
lot,
doing these jobs or whatever. Like
well, yeah, right. There's a lot of people are working shitty jobs and they could use a pay boost.
I mean, I think it's unlikely that. I mean, we talked about this earlier that we'd actually see like a net increase in wages from like any immigration moratorium and
You
deportations.
probably would in the
I think
people that are counted in the functional unemployed, though, right? Due to like who that would
only
encompass.
some of them, because some of them are like probably don't even really count as like in the labor force or whatever. But I think
That's more of a small.
I think some of them, because these are probably disproportionately low skill people, and you would probably see disproportionately low skill people benefit from any type of like immigration moratorium. But like you would or any immigration restriction in general. But you would probably see like an aggregate decrease in wages because there are other sectors that are hurt, and high skilled workers are probably hurt as well. So like I think not to, and again the opportunity cost, but.
Okay.
Okay. What do we like?
I mean, I don't really care that much. I'm not here to defend that whole thing. It was just something that was mentioned.
Okay. Well, at least you don't defend that. Okay, but you did defend the cringe EPI. Okay, you said the EPI has all their stuff on
Listen, there's some things in EPI is good for. There's some things they're not. I don't believe in the lagging. I don't believe in the decoupling stuff. I don't believe in their stuff on trade deficits.
Okay. Ooh, at least we got that. Okay. You're not. I don't know. Do I want to? Would I take
I'm
a
a well-read guy. I'm an all-around guy.
I'm a real red Nazi. Right. Exactly.
I'm not a Nazi. I prefer the term social nationalist, not a national socialist. There's a difference.
Right. I mean, I think it might be hyperbolic to call you a Nazi, but obviously, I think you fit the definition of far right. Far right that was used in the title for the Jubilee video.
I already told you,
but
far right Strophian.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Seems weird, but
seems weird. No, it doesn't.
You got it. That's an odd ideology to.
Well, let's
come across. You don't come across many like post-Keynesians who are also like race realists, right? Like that's not a typical.
Who's the most infamous PK on the internet?
Lord Keynes, maybe.
Exactly.
Is he a race? I know he has anti-immigration stuff. I don't know if he's a race realist.
Yeah, he's a race realist. Yeah.
Let's go. Okay, I didn't know that.
He's
New
me.
lore.
No, he's literally me. No, he's literally fucking me. No, I mean Koletsky praised the Nazi economy. Robinson praised the Nazi economy. Keynes had very high praise for Mosley's thing before he formed the BUF. The New Deal was basically copied off of Mussolini's economic system. Like Hugh Johnson was like passing around like fascist corporatist literature at the White House. Like there's always been a pretty big overlap there.
I mean, I guess I don't know the full history of post-Keynesian's praise of the Nazis. I guess. I guess like one maybe last thing. I don't know if other people want to talk to you, they can. I know. I'm pretty sure Sam and Sample are watching. They might have issues with whatever. I think chat
I got
wants
a beef with Sample.
That makes sense. Chat apparently wants Sam, or at least one person wants Sam v. Seth. But I think you mentioned like you're that apparently you mentioned like you were a third worldist earlier. I would hope we not that this exactly maps on, but I would hope we'd acknowledge like the utility for immigrants and people from the third world probably do matter, right? To some extent.
Utility from the immigrants.
Utility to the gains to the immigrants. Like.
Yeah, but I think there's a much better policy than, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, okay. What's, sorry, before I answer this, Nonfon, what's your background?
What do you mean by that? Oh, like ethnicity? Yeah, I'm actually an Ethiopian Jew.
Is he Jewish? Are you actually Jewish?
No, it's not. It's not Jewish. It's not Jewish.
Well, hey, despite making up 2% of the population, they're 33% of this voice call right now. So, but anyway, no, I think there's a better way to address the immigration thing. There is going to be a decrease of utility from immigration, but I think there's a way of solving this
to the migrants. I mean, like, don't we think the migrants probably gain a lot from immigration?
Yeah, they do. But I think there's a way we can maximize utility here without having immigration.
Okay.
That'd be to colonize the area.
Right. Sample, what was what do you want to?
No, he said we have beef. I mean, I debunk you on everything we talk about. But
no,
like, what's our beef?
No, he doesn't. By the way,
I believe it.
Absolutely,
I believe it.
No, you absolutely don't. I thought we came to the conclusion yesterday free trade was AIDS.
No, what? When
yes, we did. Yes, we did.
No,
we looked at the model.
Not.
It was AIDS. We came to the conclusion free trade was AIDS.
Oh, yeah. Okay, non-fun. So remember the paper, what was it? Like unequal gains from trade or whatever, where they like free trade is good for the poor or whatever. So they had something like something adjusted, something demand, whatever, and the title, like the acronym came to AIDS, and he dismissed the entire paper just because the acronym was AIDS. So, look, funny guy, that was funny. And I said, like, look, your paper is a harmonized instrumental variable, so that's HIV, but you don't see.
Right, but obviously full-blown AIDS is worse than HIV.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you would
Uh,
know,
Um,
wouldn't you?
Simple. I'm curious.
oh, no.
You gotta have like some evidence on the innovation and immigrants, right? It seems like I don't think I have that much stuff linked. I thought I did in my fucking notes section, but it like I swear I've seen evidence in the past that immigrants do tend to be relatively innovative compared to native borns.
They do. They are.
Even Hispanic. Well, you said
Once you
Hispanic immigrants weren't.
no, once you account for race, though, that's not true.
Okay, so it's based on right. It's based on race. That's right.
Yes.
But I think we. I mean, you would probably see. Do you think
Why
Indian
did
immigrants?
you join?
Do you
Why
think?
did he join? Did
I
he
don't
just
know.
have? What's with
Beef.
Israeli?
You
No, no,
you
you
said
people colonize everything. You can't even keep your hands off the VC. You colonize
this
everything.
VC, this VC was promised to me way before you were born. Okay, I don't. Not even getting
Yeah,
into that.
2,000 years ago. All right.
Very true. 3,000, I heard. Okay, I'm gonna. Well, you say we have beef. Whatever.
No, I was just joking.
Yeah.
I was just joking, Sample. You know I love you. The beef was that I'm Aryan and he's Jewish. I love Sample. Are you still there, Nonfon, or
Yeah. I'm reading the abstract.
how
Of the
many
study.
people?
Someone linked me.
How many people are watching the stream?
A few probably left since we started, or since we stopped like really going at it. We have 12 on Twitch. We have 21 on YouTube. Although we were at 30 at one point, and then I don't know if anyone's watching on Kick. Yeah, no one's watching on Kick.
Dude,
No
I'm
one cares
trying to
about Kick.
debate fucking because Parker literally was like, "I want to debate the guy in the white hat," and I replied, and he hasn't replied yet, but he's tweeted since that. So that's a
Damn.
dodge, right?
I wouldn't say it's a dodge yet. I mean, I think can't you just join his thing when he goes live?
I don't want to fucking do that.
Why not? You did it to Destiny.
Yeah, yeah, and look how that went. He constantly fucking talked over me and acted like a retard.
Oh well, I mean, I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess. It
Come on,
might be better to try to
he
set up
looked
a.
stupid. He looked stupid.
I think Destiny has really bad arguments for immigration. I think. I think.
Dude, he's like Phillips curve.
The
posting,
natural.
bro.
I know.
Like,
Yeah,
what
I
the fuck
agree.
is this?
Listen, I think it's very annoying to me that to see every single fucking time Destiny talks about immigration, he talks about the Phillips curve and the natural rate of unemployment. But I don't think that I think both of you were wrong in that debate, obviously. So
I was right. I was right. Yeah, so I think I won this debate. I think I was more substantive. I think I was more rhetorical. I think I won this debate. I think it was a very good faith conversation. I think I did very well. I think you lost.
wow,
No,
incredible.
I'm just janking. I'm just janking your chain.
True. I mean, I think I think like I said, I feel like for most of these things to be like more confident on, I would just need to do like way more research that I have on like exactly, what fucking immigrants are more innovative than natives and what immigrants are and what blah 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 blah. But I think like just generally, maybe it isn't my Econ 101 bias that you or that I have that you might not hold because you're a post-Keynesian. Like we have, I would just say like generally seems
Well,
like
you can
immigration.
read. I wrote a paper for Ubersoy.
Our
which is-
Irish, the New Mexicans or whatever, like the.
No. I wrote something about like post-Keynesianism and immigration. You can take a look at.
Oh, I mean, maybe I don't know, but like I said, I think I just have like broadly like Econ 101 brain where I'm like immigration increase, shifts out the
Oh, you
PPF.
definitely do.
They probably, probably to the extent it decreases wages, like those gains are captured by other people. So they probably probably still leaves to.
Yeah, but it's captured. It's captured by people who are higher up on the totem pole. Like it is a regressive policy.
I mean, I've had a lot, I've had a lot of disagreements about economy with this. I just don't care about inequality like that much, and I think
I don't either to a certain degree. Like for example, let's like use like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, like that was that was unequitable, but that boosted well-being for everybody, and that's okay. That's okay. But
Mhm.
if there's a policy that causes inequality specifically because there's a people on the lower side of the totem pole, they're having their livelihoods decrease because, and then that causes a increase of the people who are higher up on the totem pole increasing, then that is going to be inequality I care about.
I mean, I think. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it seems like at bottom you're still just like kind of valuing the utility there, not really inequality. But I mean, I can understand. I can understand that. Obviously, there's obviously just a disagreement about how big the benefit is from immigration,
Right.
even if some are hurt.
Well, on the economics point, like I said, like I do think it causes a decrease in wages. I do think the benefits to immigration are overblown. But my biggest gripe is like a cultural thing. That's my biggest gripe. I don't.
The anti-white bias. Okay, that the Mexicans
Yes,
have an
that is a
anti-white
huge
bias?
problem.
Do any races not have a anti-white bias?
Yeah, white people.
Well, any non-white.
No,
What about Jews born in the
they
U.S.
have
like
the
white
highest
passing,
anti-white bias. They have the
even
highest anti-white bias.
white passing Jews like
Yes, like Ben Shapiro, that bitch.
Ben Shapiro has an anti-white bias. That's true, actually.
He
That's true.
is. Like Mark Levin said, it was in Europeans' DNA to be anti-Semitic. Like, yeah, that is anti-white bias. Fuck you, and it is in my DNA.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what to say to that one. I have for whatever reason I have someone who wants me to talk to you about veganism. I don't really debate veganism that often.
I'm considering going vegan. Just not right now. I'm in the middle of a bulk. I don't want to rapidly change my diet when I'm trying to put on as much weight as possible. But after that, yeah, I am probably going to go vegan. I have motivating reasons to.
Okay. I mean, I guess there's more agreement there than I figured there would be, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean,
I'm Twitter space.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably talk more in the future. Like I'm sure you'll be in the server talking to Sam and Sample and whoever whenever. I'll probably do. I need to do more reading immigration, but there's like 5 other things I want to do reading on as well. So we'll see whenever I reach my final form.
Are you a protectionist?
No.
You're wrong.
Okay. But I think what are the like big benefits from protectionism that we think we're gonna see, I guess?
Oh shit, dude! I have to go over this. Do you know about like Caldorian growth laws?
Didn't you tell me about those on Twitter once? I feel like I'd have to.
Okay, you know what? I don't feel like doing this right now. No offense.
Sure, that's fine. I think you told me about them on Twitter. Isn't that? I mean, I think from what I saw, it seems like they would not necessarily apply to the U.S. anymore, and probably apply better to industrializing countries. But whatever, you can go. You can do your Twitter.
Thank you. Well, it was nice talking to you. I think this was a productive, good faith, linear conversation. Yeah.
Hey, listen. I got some new followers, some new viewers because of this. So that's a W. I'm sure
You're welcome.
We'll talk more in the future. Like I said, about protectionism, about immigration, about whatever. So
I'm gonna JQ pill you if you're interested in that.
See, I don't even know if I can have that conversation on Twitch. So I don't think I'm very interested in that.
Sure. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, see you, buddy. Thanks.
See you, man.
Incredible. Oh, what's up?
Hey, that was the first time I've watched a stream for longer than like 30 minutes. That was great.
That's true. It was great.
That was a really interesting conversation. Chat was very engaged. I was very engaged with chat. Nobody was really responding to me because I was just kind of saying nonsense. But
I mean, I think typical woman attention span. That's true. Actually, that's true. Yeah, I think I need to do an immigration arc. I need to do an everything arc. I need to do more. But
Yeah.
What do you mean typical
Funny, he
woman
said- he
attention
said-
span?
He said he's gonna JQ pill you. I'm already doing it. Why? I don't need your help. Look at him. It's very true. Yeah. No, I thought you did well, but I think you need to hammer home like with examples and stuff, and you need to be more aggressive.
Sure.
But I guess it was a good faith convo. I don't know. Hopefully no like crazy lefties are watching, and then like every time you debate someone, it's like you were chill with this bad guy, whatever. Hopefully,
yeah, can't wait.
but I
Non-fun. You
think
were
you
chill
should've-
with
wait,
this
wait,
guy
very
on
quickly, very
stream.
quickly. No way, cancel. No, but I think we should have gone like with numerical examples. For example, I said to you, like, just ask him like directly, which country does more good or is more profitable? Country 1,000 whites and they all do innovation, or 1,000,000 whites and they all do innovation, but like we also have 2 million Mexicans. Like, which one
Right.
is doing more good? It's like, this like it gets the point across very well. People can understand this. And the difference between that and other stuff like crime rates or whatever is that like crime affects directly.
Let's
people
fucking
and
go! Thanks
like
for the
not
sub, Bert
many people outside of it.
Stein.
Innovation affects everyone.
Hell yeah.
If I innovated
By the way,
the
I will
phone or
grift.
something, the person who invented the phone
Exclamation point TTS in chat.
impacted a lot more people than just him, or like the people involved. So like the crime
Right.
rate there is a rate.
Smash
it's
that
important
like
because that's
button,
how
hit
safe
that
people
follow.
feel in your country.
Donate.
Innovation, you just want the aggregate innovation to be as high because that affects everyone
Prime
in
sub.
your country. So that's my logic for it. But yeah, I don't know. Just
Yeah.
I thought that's a point that's annoying because like I've talked to him before about like necessarily if first generation immigrants commit less crime than average and their children commit about as much crime as on average,
Mhm.
you know that graph, right? So
Yeah.
that then therefore necessarily like more immigrant. I don't like saying importing. it feels so wrong. like objectifying. But like having more immigrants reduces the crime rate. And I said like that's mathematically correct. And that eventually got him to agree on that. But like I don't know. I feel like he tried to do that with the innovation, but it doesn't matter anymore. Like the crime rate is what's important.
I
but
know, yeah,
not
it
the
was
innovation
kinda- it
rate,
was
like
weird that we're
we did so
doing-
far.
I
Yeah,
mean, a
exactly,
good way
so-
to visualize it is: would you rather have like 1,000 people who are pretty strong pushing a cart, or would you have like 1,100 people with the 1,000 strong people there, and then the 100 people that are there also are just a little weaker,
Yeah, exactly.
but they're still
Yeah.
pushing
No,
the
but on
cart a little
average,
bit
bro.
more.
On average, bro. That's why people need to be
Yeah.
total hedonic utilitarians. Like unless they're
That's
that,
true.
you cannot trust them.
If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.